Hey everybody, it's Tim Sackett, and we're back with another edition of SmashFly, the recruitment marketing podcast, brought to you by the great folks at SmashFly.com. So make sure you check them out if you have any needs for a recruitment marketing platform. And also, I want to thank Fistful of Talent for allowing us to do this. So you probably know it's not usual that I'm standing and sitting next to somebody. So I'm at a conference. Surprise, surprise. We're in Palm Beach, Florida at the Recruiting Trends and Talent Tech Conference put on by LRP, the same people that put on HR Tech Conference every year in Vegas. So it's end of November, right after Thanksgiving in the U.S., and they're actually moving Recruiting Trends and Talent Tech to the spring, but they're not going to do it until 2019. So February 20th to the 22nd, 2019, you can come and celebrate my birthday on February 20th, and we'll have fun doing that. So I want to introduce the guy I have with me because he wrote a book and he's super intelligent. So Mervyn Dinnen, Dinnen like dinner, like but without the R, right?
Correct. With an N instead of an R.
Dinnen, yeah. Mervyn. Now he's from, obviously you can tell right now he's from Europe, right? So he's got this great accent. So you probably want me to shut up and him to start talking, especially if you're in America watching this. But anyway, so we've been going to sessions all day long. What have you thought about the conference?
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I think it's good. It's interesting. It's great to have a conference that's very much aimed at recruiters and talking about a lot of the issues they have, maybe aside from the broader HR context.
Yeah, we had talked about when you're at HR Tech, they talk about everything. So everything gets lost. You have engagement, and you have payroll, and you have straight HR, and some of the recruiting stuff gets really lost in the shuffle. The noise is so big, and here everything is about talent acquisition, talent technology, and so it's a pretty cool environment to be in. Difficult timing in terms of like the time of year because it's kind of the end of the conference season, but I think Elaine Orler, who's taking over as the head of the conference, will fix that, and we're looking forward to the next one in 2019. But Mervyn, I brought you on because you wrote a book. Was it launched this year in the spring?
This year, yes. It came out in the US at the end of May.
Okay.
And I co-authored with a guy called Matt Older, who a lot of you hopefully will know from the Recruiting Future podcast.
Yeah.
Tim has been a guest twice, as have I.
We're the only two that have been on twice, right?
Yeah, mine's nepotism, as he's my co-author and co-collaborator on projects. So.
Well, I probably just go out and reach out to him and ask to be on. Like I just, nobody else does. They're like on once and they think, that's fine. So introduce your book. Tell us what it's about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The book is here, Exceptional Talent. And it's a look at how the attraction, hiring, retention, development of people is changing in the evolving world of work, or you could say evolving in the changing world of work. And we look at, we spoke to a number of companies over the course of a year to find out what they were doing differently. And we gradually built up this picture of what we call from attention to retention. And so it starts with kind of attention, what's known about a business before there's even a vacancy, through the attraction phase, and then the acquisition, the hiring assessment. And then we move into this, if you like, the HR half of the book. So onboarding, which I think is the most important part. I know not everybody likes the expression onboarding, but it's the bit that takes you from an interested candidate through to a successful, productive employee. And it's kind of that process often governs retention, attrition, and then talent management, and then at the end it's kind of engagement, retention, whether or not you retain the person, it's retention of relationships, so you keep that person effectively in as an advocate, ambassador. And it's written for HR, it's written for recruiters, it's written for small, medium-sized business owners as well. And as I say, it's more of a commentary. It's not so much a how-to, you must do this, you must do that. But it's kind of how things are changing, why they're changing, what's driving it. Sometimes it's tech, sometimes it's generational, and sometimes it's just companies have more data and information now, and they can use that to maybe offer richer experiences. And so we've got quite a few examples in there and quotes and case studies as well.
So share something in terms of what you and Matt found of something companies are doing to actually let's focus on the front side, right, on the attraction or getting people interested in your company. What did you guys find that companies are doing right now and having success with?
I think that the actual understanding, I suppose, of recruitment marketing, which I know we talk about a lot at these
Yeah.
events, and kind of, recruiters need to think like marketers. Marketers need to be like recruiters and all that stuff. But we were finding a lot of companies that were doing a lot more in terms of the kind of talent pipelining, the targeting of better, I suppose, the brand persona, which we were hearing about this morning, about understanding the different types of candidates. I think a lot more are doing better at that. I think there's still too much noise.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's the very much kind of to get attention. There's a lot of shouting out there, and we've had sessions here today as well about the messaging, about being useful, about being human and useful,
Mm-hmm.
from our sponsors, SmashFly.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that is happening. I mean, it's slow. Some companies still go, I suppose, the traditional routes. But I think what we are finding is the concept of the talent journey, so that instead of a sequence of events, so it's kind of there's a vacancy,
Mm-hmm.
you draw up a job description, you advertise it, you look at the responses. This is all very much ongoing.
Yeah.
There's a relationship between a person and organisation before there's a vacancy. The attraction phase is very much kind of building on the conversations you've already started. The assessment stage is very seamless after that, as long as you've got a good recruitment process, and very much onboarding starts during the assessment phase. The people coming in for final interviews, one of them will be a new employee, others might be an employee in the future, so you're starting to get them, I suppose, give them an understanding of the organisation, what it takes to be successful there, what it's like to work there, what they need to know. And that very much, if onboarding is done right, they turn up already knowing things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the kind of 3-month probation, you're in or you're out, but if you begin to take feedback from them on a weekly or fortnightly basis, how they're settling in, and find out kind of where maybe they need to know more, they maybe need more support from mentors or buddies. You then it's much easier to then turn that person into a more productive employee. You're also setting the platform for performance management as a kind of process of continuous ongoing feedback. And
I think that's critical,
yeah.
because most talent acquisition leaders and even HR leaders would never connect recruiting and performance management. But the reality is the best performance management starts in the recruiting process. You're teaching them as they come in through that process what the performance management is going to look like, and what the expectations are. And if you don't set that up in recruiting, sometimes it's a huge surprise when they get hired. And they go, oh my gosh, wait a minute. It was all supposed to be, raise rainbows and butterflies, and you expect me to do something. Like, I wasn't ready for this. And I think it's missed by so many really good, like, there's some really great TA leaders out there that are doing great work, but they never connect the performance management side. And it helps you as an organization so much better.
Oh, of course. And also, it's the culture is not missold, misrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that happens in one of two ways. It's a very kind of easy process. There's somebody you identify early. You roll out the red carpet to bring them in. You're not really letting them know what it's like. You're giving them an impression that that's what the business is like.
Yeah.
And I suppose the counter of that is you go through this kind of labours of Hercules kind of assessment process where there's interviews, there's the curveball questions to try and put them off, see if they can think on their feet.
Yeah.
And I will always say, the only point in doing that, I was asking those questions, if that is your culture. Finding out if people can think on their feet and really come up with an answer out of the blue. Mm-hmm. If that's what you like to work at, then okay, you need to find that out. But if that's not the way your business operates, why use that?
And we see that, right? We see that disconnect happening all the time, where somebody in TA goes, oh my gosh, we found the best way. Or just a single hiring manager, like IT is a good example. They tend to have these crazy kinds of hiring processes. But it doesn't match up to the culture of the company at all. And then you're like, well, why are we even doing this? And like, oh, well, we heard Google did it. I read Laszlo's book. He said he did it. And you're like, no, don't do this anymore. So was there anything in the book that surprised you and Matt as you were researching and getting this information and writing that you go, wow, we didn't expect that?
Ooh. I've never been asked that.
See, that's a great interview question then, right there.
That's a great interview question. I mean, on one respect, I could say possibly not the both of us. So I mean, there might be things that the kind of Matt was surprised by that
That you
maybe
knew or,
I knew a bit more about, and,
Yep.
and it was quite collegiate the way we wrote it and planned it.
Yeah.
So there was no kind of you won't believe the section I've just
Yes.
written.
Yeah,
I never knew that existed. I think it was more just the more companies we spoke to, it was understanding how the concept of the journey was actually happening, even if they didn't realise it.
Yeah.
So we would speak to people, and maybe they hadn't drawn the dots between kind of, well, actually this relates back to that, and that impacts this. So I don't think in terms of other than the fact stuff we already knew, which was how much noise there is out there in the recruitment marketing space, and how many people think you've got to have 6 rounds of interviews to find out to get to a shortlist.
Yeah, I wonder what
that
law of diminishing returns is on number of interviews, because we work with companies and we've done all kinds of stuff. You and I both have, and you'll go into some and they're just one interview or a screening interview and they make a decision, and then you go into others and it's like, oh, well, we put people through a full day and they interview with 7 people, and you're going, do you really get a better hire? Did you find like there was any kind of magic number or feel when you talk to all these companies that they go, once we do, by the 3rd interview, if you don't know, then you just need to move on? Like, is there anything out there that you would kind of, in your own experience, that you find?
I think that's true. I mean, it depends on the level of role. It depends kind of seniority, if it's maybe a blue-collar role as opposed to white. Sometimes you need to spend more time with them. I think that it was interesting that there was a company that I advised, and they had a big attrition problem. They had like 6 or 7 rounds of interviews, and I tried to work back with them at one stage that the candidate that gets the job has almost spent 2.5 working days in your office.
Yeah,
each
they
interview
they
round
weren't the
lasts
best
2
candidate. They just
2.5 hours.
survived.
Survivor. And the CEO, his problem was that people come into this business and they don't succeed. It's like getting a job here is a prize, and we need to change that. And I said, well, you've set your recruitment system up, your selection system up to make the getting of an offer a prize.
Yeah.
If you give somebody that many steps, that many challenges, then at the end of it, it's a bit Game of Thrones. Last person standing has won the prize, is now the lord of the land. So you think you've done what you need to do. And of course, which goes back to what we said before about representing the culture. And it was a case of trying to explain to him, but no, if you're giving them the impression once they've got that prize, they will be successful.
Yeah.
And so I think that it signals as well. So it subconsciously, candidates, they're nervous during the interview process. They're always looking for signs. Am I doing well? He's smiling. Does that mean he liked what I said?
They're shaking their head. Yes.
Yeah.
Confirmation.
Kind of, they invited me back. They must like me. And we're not good at the communication. So nobody would say, we're inviting you back because actually you've been interviewed by 3 people and one thinks you're great, one thinks you're awful, and I was a bit indifferent, so we're bringing you back again. If you did that, then maybe it kind of, there's a bit of rationale, and the guy might think, or girl might think, I understand that. So, I'm in with the shout. It's not a complete no. But without that level of feedback, which again, we've already heard here this morning, the importance of communication and feedback, without that 2-way input, and I think that a lot of interviewers sometimes feel if they give too much help, it's a bit like an exam. If we make it too easy, I can go back in time, being old, to you couldn't take a calculator into an exam or anything like that. And it's kind of like we'd be making it easy for them. So I think that if you help them, then if you're that kind of organisation, of course, if you help them, it makes it easier for them to show what they can do. And I think that's the thing we found. That with a title like exceptional talent, we had to set out the stall fairly early. What do we mean by that?
Yeah.
And talent is a very overused and misused word. It's supposed to be the best, the top 10%, the kind of the high potentials.
Yeah.
And actually, I suppose the thing that we discovered, the more companies we spoke to, was the talent is everywhere. Everybody has talents, and it's not so much finding somebody who fits this tight description, but it's finding somebody who's got the attributes to succeed, who can grow and develop and grow into a role. and it's finding the way it's defined there is the person who's right for the company, right for the role, irrespective of background.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the I suppose talent attraction process which enables people to show what they can do.
I'm wondering if is it a true shift in how we hire, or is it economically, because of the economics I know in the U.S. and really kind of I think across Europe are fairly decent right now. I mean, there's not like the unemployment rates are at a pretty good clip in terms of being lower. And so we start to hear this kind of conversation where they're going, okay, hey, it's, we don't need to hire for, you don't have to have a degree. We're looking for talent. We're looking for fit. We're looking for all these things. But then if it turns around and unemployment rate goes really high, do we go back to all those filters that we put in? Oh, you have to have this degree and you have to have this. Like right now we're seeing that where it's pretty popular for companies to go, okay, well, we used to have to have an MBA for this job, but now you can only have to have a computer and you show up every day, and so we've eliminated so much of that I'm wondering if that is going to stay around. And I think IT probably a decade ago started that, right, where they were like going, well, you don't really need a degree to be a good coder.
Yeah,
some of our best coders probably don't. But again, I don't want to have a surgeon who hasn't gone through all those education processes. Yeah. But there's probably a lot of jobs that we have in our organizations that you don't need a degree, that we can teach somebody. Yeah. So do you think that is here to stay, or is it just because of the economy right now that's popular?
It's a good question. I think that my personal view is, as jobs develop, as work develops, and we understand it differently, and without getting involved into conversations around AI and robots taking the jobs and everything, but gradually the work we do is being seen differently. So I think the traditional job, a marketing person has to do A, B, C, D, E, is beginning to change, and it's a bit of this, a bit of that, and actually that bit doesn't have to be done by somebody in marketing, and that. So we're recreating the roles, almost redesigning the work that somebody has to do, and I think that makes it therefore easier in that we're looking for somebody who can do maybe different parts of the role, and therefore might not need the deep background in that role, but who could possibly take that role somewhere else, because we then need agility, curiosity, and all these things. Mm-hmm. I've seen quite a few speakers at the annual autumn round of HR tech events talking about talent in one business isn't the same as talent in another business, and it's defining what it takes to succeed in your business, and this kind of agility, curiosity, flexibility of thinking is what you're looking for in a person, even if they don't have the deep sector knowledge for your organization. If they know how to go and get that knowledge and build it, that's more important.
Yeah, I do. I find that odd, where companies will always go, oh, well, gosh, we want to hire this person because they worked at Facebook, and oh my gosh, they worked at Facebook, they might be great. But Facebook's culture and what they value in talent might be completely different. But there might be some company that you've never even heard of that is more closely related, and that's really the company you should be recruiting from. But so many TA leaders and TA practitioners get caught up with the name. Yeah. Oh, they worked for Google or Nike or anything. And again, it might be a great fit with your organization, but many times it doesn't seem like it is. And so that's always interesting to me, because you get right into that, where it's like, hey, it's fine if you know who you are and what talent works for you. Now go find that organization, and it might not be a big name. It might be a big name. It might be one you don't even think about, But I always think that that's a critical factor that so many companies miss. They just go, I just want to hire the big name company person. Yeah. And you're like, they're going to fail in your environment,
It's funny, years ago when I was an agency recruiter, for a period I recruited sales people. And the belief from clients always was they want a big hitter from a company just like them. And you have to try and explain, look, every company is set up differently. Yeah. A big biller in one company won't suddenly come to you with no leads, no desk to run, and be a big biller. Yeah. He or she had a support network there. They were trading off of a name that was maybe specialist in an area and not specialist in. There's many, many factors that lead up to somebody at the sharp end being successful. Yeah. It might be personal circumstances which is right for that person at that time but aren't right now. And the number of people who would then get headhunted across, find me the best person in that company, and then 3 months in, they're useless. Get rid of them. And then you've got a candidate whose career is now going the other way because everyone said, well, you were good there, you weren't good there, maybe you've lost it. And it's kind of, you think, it's madness.
Yeah.
It's trying to explain to clients even all those years ago, just because they're doing really well in one place doesn't mean they'll do well in another one.
Yeah.
It's about structure, it's internal networks,
and it works both ways. Just because they failed at one location doesn't mean they can't be a rock star for you.
Yeah.
And I love that second chance candidates. Like I have hired a number over my career that they just had that hunger and that desire to show, like, hey, I'm not a failure. I might have failed there, but I can come and work for you and be a success. And so often we go, oh, well, they got fired from that job or they get this. And, there's a lot of people out there who go, well, if you've never been fired from a job, then you're not good enough, right? But I always think that works both ways, from that standpoint. So, Mervyn, I want to thank you so much. Make sure holidays are right around the corner. If you're looking for a gift for your favorite talent acquisition person, exceptional talent. And I know Matt put a ton of time into that. Thanks to SmashFly for allowing us to do this. Check them out, smashfly.com. They've been sponsoring the conference here, one of the major sponsors, and we've certainly enjoyed the content they're putting out. And also Fistful of Talent. We'll see you guys next time on the SmashUps podcast, or video cast, and we'll see you then.